So alcohol is toxic to the body and a depressant, yet it's the number one drug out there that we all use. But why do we use it?
Welcome to the Awesome Human Podcast, your path to total human optimization. Ready to unleash your 100%? Let's go.
In the UK, 82% of adults drink alcohol. 48% of adults drink once per week, yet it is widely known as a toxin to the body on many levels, is a class 1 carcinogen with the WHO, and its primary action is a depressant. Now, 5% of all deaths worldwide are linked to alcohol, with alcohol-related issues rising significantly since the pandemic. But alcohol is a cultural and societal norm. It's everywhere, and it's totally normal to drink it. More normal than any other drug in circulation. It's used to enjoy yourself, unwind, relieve stress, and escape your problems. So the question is, how much is too much? Is one drink okay? Or are we missing its true effects on not just our physical health, but our mental health? And if you exercise and drink, is that okay, or is that holding you back? Now, welcome back to the show. I've been very interested in this topic since going alcohol free. It's been 8 months for me. February 19th, 2024 was when I went alcohol free. And to be honest, I went alcohol free by accident. I never saw myself or never saw alcohol as a problem. Because so many people drink more than me, I was like, well, I don't drink a lot. So comparatively, it's kind of okay. But I went on holiday, and all the people that I went on holiday with didn't drink. And I was like, okay, fine. Yeah, whatever. Cool. And do you know what? It was one of the best holidays ever. Now, not necessarily for that reason. It was a snowboarding holiday. I loved it. Amazing group of people. But what it meant is, firstly, everyone was on the same level. So everyone was drinking. So it was all just like we were normal, right? But the conversations that everyone had all that week were amazing. They were deep, they were real, there wasn't any BS, no one was wearing a mask, no one was pretending to be someone they're not. Like, it was really cool, and I really enjoyed it. And to be honest, I wouldn't have drunk that much anyway. I don't like drinking a lot when I snowboard because it impairs my recovery, and I'm one of these guys that likes to be on the first lift, first thing in the morning, and just really enjoy the snowboarding holiday and not be held back by alcohol. But, you know, I might have had a glass of wine like most evenings, and that kind of, for me, would have felt okay. Anyway, I got back home, and after like 10 days, I started to feel really good. Like, more than just that kind of holiday high, you know, feeling nice and relaxed and reset. I was feeling really good. Just like, I felt more emotionally balanced than I'd ever been. And at the weekend, I then had a drink. And that Monday morning, I was like, I feel really low. Like, I can't be arsed. Like, I didn't like want to work. And I was like, but I love my job, so that's not an issue. So I didn't really think anything of it. And then Tuesday came and I felt like angry. And I was like, I haven't felt this for a little while, and it's a pattern. And so what I did is I ended up talking to a couple of people from the holiday about the alcohol thing, because a lot of the people had been alcohol free for longer than me. So I wanted to understand their experience. And they all started to talk me through like better moods, better recovery, better emotional regulation. So I was like, So after a bit of convincing, and I did need a bit of convincing because mentally I was like, I'm not sure I could give up red wine. Like, I had this thing about red wine, like the complexity of the taste, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, fine. So I went alcohol free for a month, and then again tested it. So had a drink, and all those things came back, like low mood, got angry on the Tuesday, because I always had a glass of wine or two when I was cooking Sunday roast dinner with the family on a Sunday. And 2 days later, I'd always get this day where I had like half a day of just like anger. Couldn't explain it. I was just inside quite angry. And I don't think anyone would have really noticed, but I felt it and I didn't like it, especially around my kids. So then I was like, fine, I'm going to give up alcohol. And my recovery from exercise has been better. My mood regulation has been unbelievably consistent. And now I've created the space between me not drinking alcohol. I've kind of really had to look at why I drank alcohol. So there was definitely an enjoyment perspective, I'm not going to lie. Having some alcohols is really enjoyable. The taste is really enjoyable. But there was a component of that occasionally you would lean into it as a de-stress tool. Now, I didn't do that much, but I did do it sometimes. There was that draw of like, oh, I'll have a drink, because that drink, a drink gives you that kind of instant, like 15 minutes later, you're feeling all soft and fuzzy and all your problems are kind of forgotten and stuff, and it's all nice. But then what I started to notice, and this is in the experimentation phase of me giving up alcohol, is, and this happened actually, that really stood out to me in the lead up to the holiday. I'd felt great all day. I was at the airport, I was traveling on my own, it was brilliant, had loads of space and time, and I sat down in the airport lounge, got some food. I know the food didn't affect my mood because I just had like some beef stew. That would never usually affect my mood. It was pretty low carb, blah, blah, blah. And I had like a small to medium glass of wine, and 30 minutes later I felt knackered, like just tired. And I could feel that kind of blood glucose manipulation feeling from the alcohol going in, providing a quick source of energy, and going out. And then for just like an hour and a half, I just felt tired and wanted to have a nap. And I was like, I don't want this feeling. Like I was looking forward to a plane journey by myself, like reading a book, like properly just using the free time by myself, love it. I'm an introvert. But I couldn't do that. I wanted to like nap for the first hour. And I started to notice that in my daily life. I really didn't want that. The trade-off wasn't worth it anymore. So I've kind of been thinking about alcohol quite a bit off and on. I'm not exposed to it that much, so my alcohol sort of ingestion was always kind of on my own terms, really. I was quite often at home, or might go out with friends and have just like a beer or a glass of wine, but it was quite often led by me. I was never really externally influenced. I haven't been that guy for a long time. If I go out and I want something, I will have something. I will not be influenced by other people. I don't care what other people think about my choices either. And what it did is it made me really kind of just question every kind of draw. And I'm fascinated by this in the human body. Last week, I did part 1 of my predictions. This is part 2 of my predictions for 2024, 2025. And to be honest, this is already like well underway. You can see the explosion of alcohol-free beer, alcohol-free spirits, etc. Loads of young people are not going out and getting, quote, shit-faced anymore. Bar cultures, dropped right down. I've been to several festivals over the summer, and I met, a good handful of people that just weren't drinking like I was, and that wasn't a thing, back when I used to do festivals, kind of when I was younger. So this is well underway. So it's a prediction that is coming to fruition in a big way, but not for that I see at the moment, like the older bracket. So like think about 40 plus, like literally so many people that I know that are 40 plus drink quite a bit, especially even older. Like generationally, it seems even worse generationally. Like you have a little glass of wine with dinner or whatever as part of like, your kind of cultural relaxing routine. But I've really been fascinated by observing people's behavior. And so many people use it as a stress relieving tool, but it's literally the worst stress relieving tool because of its macro effect. Yes, you feel better like for the first half an hour, then you've got to chase that feeling as that feeling dissipates, and then you've got that bout of tiredness, then you get lethargy, then you get kind of a depressed mood, depending on your environment, of course, depending on the circumstances. And then the next day, you've got an element of dehydration, you've got an element of lower mood, you've got an element of lower drive. And of course, that is dependent on the volume, the type of person, the type of alcohol. I'm not saying that's just a universal rule, but you have to think about this kind of stuff. And the thing is Most people say they want better energy, better vitality, better performance, but they drink alcohol. It's completely counterintuitive. Those things don't go together. Like, their effect physiologically is toxic to many of the systems of the body and to the brain. Long term, it's really good at not positively affecting the hormonal system, which affects a lot of people. As you age, we get big changes in our hormonal system as we age. But the big thing here is alcohol is used as escapism. We're using it to escape what is quite often our current reality. How many people have alcohol because they feel more confident in a social group having it? How many people drink alcohol because if they don't, then they'll feel left out? Then that's a personal confidence thing. And then there's a lot of people that are not that happy. So they'll drink because momentarily you're more happy from having the alcohol. And this is why I think alcohol is so embedded in our culture, because previous years, like think 50 years ago, 100 years ago, even further back, life wasn't as good. Like, life was harder. You know, think about the times where everyone was going out doing a huge amount of manual work every day, weren't getting paid a lot. You know, your conditions were tougher. We didn't have the luxuries of hot water and all the rest of it. And actually, to have a couple of glasses of ale on an evening with some food really enables you to escape what would quite often have been quite a hard life. But also, if you bring something into culture that makes you feel better, even momentarily, you're probably going to use it. You're probably going to have it. And back in the day, 200 years ago, there wasn't as much stuff to do. Like, think what our lives were made up of. Our lives were made up of like work, building things, security, and then there was fun, games and play. But nowadays, we have literally a limitless amount of things that we can do. The amount of hobbies that we can pursue, sports we can pursue, like the things that we can engage in now is unbelievably rich compared to even, 50, 60, 100 years ago. And I think that's why alcohol became a cultural norm, because it was a way to quickly, relax, have a bit of a laugh, blah, 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 blah. But on the macro, like, has it been beneficial to individuals? Now, there's nuances to that argument. You can look at alcohol quality. The alcohol that we consume today, especially if it's cheap, might come along with a lot of additives that don't help the hangover. Like, if you think about a traditionally brewed pint of cider, like from 100 years ago, that would have had very minimal additives, and this health value probably would have been quite different to some of the stuff that we're drinking today. So I do think there's a quality component. And if someone does want to drink, I would adjust the type of alcohols I'm consuming, A, to reduce its overall hangover inducing state, and B, to reduce a lot of the additives that might not be beneficial to the human body. And that's where you'll quite often see people talking about more clear spirits, more kind of naturally brewed spirits that maybe don't have wheat in it. A lot of people can be reactive to wheat. And my big thing about this, and it's the same with last week's show with caffeine, it's raising the question, is what you're doing serving you? Not in the moment, but in the wider picture. If you drink on an evening, what is the effect on your sleep? What is the effect on your performance the next day? What is your effect on your connection to your wife or your husband or your partner, to your kids? How do you behave? How do you turn up for work? It's not just the moment. And this is where delayed gratification in the world of nutrition and health is such an important thing, because we can all drink a bottle of wine, order a takeaway, and pacify a want and a need that we have on any given moment, but there is a effect of that. There is second order consequences, and that might be not feeling great, not sleeping well, putting on weight, etc. And we have to weigh all of that up. And that's where so much of healthy behaviors come from someone's level of self-worth. how much they love themselves. Because if you don't, you will take more negative actions on your health because you, in essence, don't care enough about yourself. When you care deeply about yourself and you love yourself, you take actions to keep yourself in balance as much as humanly possible. That means you prioritize your sleep. You prioritize sleeping well. You prioritize movement. You prioritize social connection. And you say no to the things that do not serve you as a person. And that's why I'm raising this conversation around alcohol, because I don't think it's serving as many people as it is. I think many people would be better off without it. And especially when an individual has quite a toxic or unhealthy relationship with it, it's going to help even more if you were to have the confidence to break free. And like anything in life, all I would like you to do is experiment. I'm not telling you to go alcohol free. I'm merely planting the seed for you to question its role in your life and whether you want that. Go alcohol free for a month, 2 months, see how you feel. What's your mood like? What's your recovery like? What's your sleep like? What's your connection to your partner and kids like? What's your performance at work like? What else does it create space for? Because all the habits that we have, whether it's a habit and addiction to coffee, habit and addiction to alcohol, junk food, blah, 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 blah. When we remove these, what we don't always see in the initial sort of thought process of removing is the space that we create. For example, now I don't drink much caffeine at all. It's one less thing that I have to think about in my day. When I used to drink a lot of coffee, because I chased that feeling, I used to have to almost plan the caffeine hits in my day. Now I don't have to think about that. If I'm thirsty, I grab a glass of water, I get on with my life. Now that sounds a little bit reductionist because there's a lot of enjoyment taken from other drinks. Like I still enjoy a coffee, but now it's less, and now it's more thoughtful, and now I have more engagement in whether I really want it or not. Then I've empowered myself with more choice. I'm not being led by a feeling, and there's no kind of addictive or fear-based component of like, I need this thing to be able to feel normal or to de-stress or whatever. And so much of this is a story that we tell ourselves. I said at the beginning, one of the things that I was saying I was going to struggle with is giving up red wine. Now, don't get me wrong, there was a bit of a like, red wine's really nice, but ultimately it was just a story that I told myself. And at any given moment, we have the ability to rewrite the stories that we tell ourselves, because we will ultimately live by the stories that we tell ourselves. And the stories that we tell ourselves are made up by parental upbringing, culture, society, the books you read, the people surround yourself with. And if you want to change those stories, sometimes those things have to change. In fact, quite often those things have to change. And we have to bring awareness to that. So when you go about your day, if you're really up for going on this mission with me, tune in to the stories that you're telling yourself or you tell to other people. Listen to the words that come out of your mouth and catch yourself and be like, that story that I tell myself, do I want that story anymore? Does that story serve me? And something like alcohol, you might catch yourself saying, I need a drink, I feel stressed. That is a story, that I need a drink to de-stress. You don't. There's many other ways to de-stress. Go for a walk, play some music and dance around the kitchen. Like there's loads of things. Alcohol's just become a very easy, culturally accepted way to change state and feel a bit better about yourself. But this macro effect, I want you to question. Because overall, it is a toxin to the body and it is a depressant. Now, I want you to hear from someone else that I really respect in this space. Ruari Fairbairns owns a company called 1 Year No Beer. You might have heard of it. Very popular company. It's been in the media a lot. He's a friend of mine. He's an absolute legend. Here's a little clip on a little few bits of his story and how he pitches being alcohol-free.
Alcohol is 100% toxic. It's toxic to our brains and it's toxic to our bodies. We're starting to understand all the knock-on impact of regularly consuming alcohol. And that's the thing. If you are regularly consuming alcohol, it's having a significant impact on your physical and mental health. When we look at our bodies, sure, we've known from a while that it causes cancers. You know that it's actually directly linked into things like dementia and brain diseases. But it's very, very negative on our bodies. One of the big things people don't realize is just how much alcohol increases the production of cortisol over time. And the cortisol is the hormone for stress, fight and flight response. So this is why over time consuming alcohol actually reduces your ability to deal with stress. I think a lot of people don't realize that alcohol inhibits injury and recovery. And more importantly, alcohol inhibits weight loss. So many people out there are going to the gym, exercising, trying to lose weight, but don't realize that alcohol is the thing that's actually holding them back from processing that. I think today we are really getting to understand the truth of alcohol, and we're starting to see more and more research and more truth that alcohol is 100% toxic. And that's why the World Health Organization has it as a class 1 carcinogen. There is no safe limit. There is no health benefits to drinking alcohol. It's 100% toxic. Similarly, alcohol is very toxic to our brains. It actually shrinks our brains over time. As soon as you start drinking alcohol, it starts to dull the prefrontal cortex. That's the area just behind the forehead where we use to make rational decision making, morals, good judgment, understand the world around us. So that's why people make really stupid decisions after drinking alcohol. But it actually degrades our prefrontal cortex over time, which means you get less honest and less morally bound, and you can make bad and worse poor decisions. So not only does it increase your stress, not only is it increasing the likelihood of poor decision making, memory loss, all of those things. Is that what you want going forward into your future? And this is really what we help people see. We help people see the truth about alcohol, both physiologically and mentally. We use some really cool data and tools to help people see that so that they can look forward in their lives and say, well, is that really what I want? Looking forward. We've helped hundreds of thousands of people all over the world change their relationship with alcohol. We've well over 100,000 members in 138 countries. And now from our Complete Control program, we've had over 600 business owners, executives and high performers come through our unique optimal health and peak performance program called Complete Control. I think the one thing I've realized, having now helped all these people over the world change their relationship with alcohol, is that pretty much everyone says two things. Number one, I had no idea the truth of the impact that alcohol was having on me until I changed my relationship with it. And that just goes to prove that we're all in the matrix. We all believe that it's the best thing since sliced bread. It's highly marketed. It's highly social pressure, social conditioning that drives us to keep doing alcohol constantly because it's absolutely saturated everywhere. And yet, what we see with almost every single person is that when you pluck them out of that and you show them what life is like without it for a bit, they are gobsmacked at the truth of the impact that alcohol was having, physiologically, mentally, across their bodies, you name it. And the second thing that people always say to me is, I wish I'd done this sooner. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this message, to say, if you're even thinking about changing your relationship with alcohol, don't wait, do it. Absolutely, we've tons of resources, this wonderful podcast with Ben, tons of ways for you to find support if you need it, or just do it on yourselves. I guarantee you there is no downside to taking a break from alcohol, and there are so many upsides that you probably never even imagined. I used to be an oil broker in London, and that was just saturated with alcohol. I was drinking every week, binge drinking 2 or 3 times a week. And now I rarely drink. I did 2 years alcohol-free, and then I really wanted to go on this journey to understand what controlled drinking was, where mindful drinking, or where I could drink in control. And that's really what we help people achieve today. We see that actually not many people want to stop drinking for good, but actually people would like to be able to take a break maybe and then have a better relationship with it. And that's exactly what we help people to achieve.
I hope that little clip from Ruari gave you a little bit of perspective. Thank you, Ruari. If you want to check out his social media, I think it's Ruari Fairbairns on Instagram, or search for 1 Year No Beer and you will find him. So to wrap up, I merely want you to think about how alcohol serves you. I'm not standing here trying to be a martyr, saying I'm better than anyone else because I've gone alcohol free for, but there's many people out there doing it. All I want people to do, myself included, and this has been a big part of my journey over the last couple of years, is questioning literally everything I was doing. Is the way that I work serving me? Is the way that exercise serving me? Is alcohol serving me? Is my habits and routines serving me? Is the way that I think serving me? Like, I've wanted to question everything because the way that I lived my life made me ill. And while I was so into optimal human performance, there was so much that I was getting wrong. And I wanted to get it right. And I'm in a place now where I feel so good. I feel so awesome, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I feel fantastic. And that's why I'm sharing this stuff with you, because I want you to feel fantastic. In fact, no, I want you to feel awesome. I'll leave it there. If you want to drop into my inbox on any social media, then you can do that. This is part 2 of a 5-part series on the predictions that I posted on social media at the beginning of 2024 of trends that I think is going to become a little bit hotter as people start to explore a different level of health. Next week is going to be a long bonus show. I know all of these shows are meant to be under 30 minutes, but I did a guest podcast and I can't think of a better way to explore this topic of spirituality and journeys that are way deeper than mindset or being more connected. This is really about the journey of self and opening yourself up. Now, I am very early in this journey, so there's only so much I can comment, but I want to share what I've learned so far because I think it could help a lot of people. If you can give the time, it's going to be about an hour and a half, then do. If you only want to listen to the first 15 to 20 minutes of the show where I kind of talk about some personal anecdotes and what's happened in my life over the last 2 years, then you can do that. Awesome. Otherwise, if you want more human optimization, make sure you go to my website, click the link in the description of the show for the awesome human blueprint. And if you think at any point in your life, supplements, come and get your supplements from the most awesome supplement company in the world, Awesome Supplements. Goodbye. Go be an awesome human.